Colleagues, good afternoon, good morning. The time is now 10 o'clock, and we should start the meeting. I'm not too sure if we do have the quorum. Brent, do you have the quorum?
Recording in progress.
Okay, thank you very much. May I request that you flight the agenda? I don't see all the items. All right. Colleagues, these are the items for today. Okay, these are items for today. And so are there any apologies?
That is correct, Chair. We have an apology from the Minister. We have an apology from General Olomisa. We also have an apology from Inkosi Tebekulu, an apology from Mr. Mare. We also have an apology from Ms. Mtembu, who will be joining the meeting later. We also have an apology from Ms. Petle, who will request to leave the meeting at 12 o'clock. Those are all the apologies, Chair.
Okay. Colleagues, is there any objection to us accepting those apologies?
No objection, Chair. Accepted.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, without wasting time, item number 3, and item number 4, I'm sure these two items can be taken together one after the other before we deal with it. We discuss it. Once we're done, we then move to item number 5 and then number 6, and we close the meeting. So this is the order. You are all welcome. Let me greet the SecDef, the acting CFO, the Minister first. Deputy Minister, good evening. Good morning.
Honorable Chair, good morning, and to members of the committee, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much and welcome. So SecDef, I'm sure General Mazwana, the Chief of Staff, is also in the meeting. Acting CFO and the team from the DOD. I will then hand over to you. You take us through those two items, one after the other, after which we'll then have discussions on them. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. Good morning, DM. Yes, I'm with General Ramanswana. I'm also with the acting CFO and the rest of the group that will assist in these presentations. Where the first presentation is on consequence management, we just want to indicate here that progress has been made, albeit at some point is a bit slow, but we have made some strides. There are instances where there have been termination, other instances where already members have appeared in court. But through you, Chair, I will allow Mr. Abbott to take us through the presentations.
Good morning, Chair and members of the Portfolio Committee on Defense, Deputy Minister of Defense. Chair, as the Secretary has indicated, this presentation deals with consequence management within the Department of Defense and what we've done around dealing with the cases that the AG has raised over the last couple of years with regard to our irregular expenditure and fruitless expenditure. On slide number 3, the presentation that we have deals with irregular expenditure that is stated as 16 billion recorded in our financial statements. However, this presentation will deal with the status of 15.3 billion, which makes up 96% of the total amount of irregular expenditure. The reason why we couldn't present the entire 100% is the actual total number of irregular expenditures that we have within the department is at least 360 individual cases. So that would be too much to present everything here. And then when it comes to compensation of employees, out of the 16 billion, we've disclosed 10.1 billion of that as irregular expenditure due to the underfunding of the compensation of employees. If we add the 2.9 billion that we incurred also in the previous year, then it will be much higher. Then we'll be sitting on almost 13 billion irregular expenditure of approximately just over 70% of the total value of the irregular expenditure. Fruitless expenditure that we've recorded in our financial statements and registers is valued at 438.7 million rand. This presentation covers 99% of that, which is 434 million worth of fruitless expenditure. Included in these two categories are also material irregularities that have been raised by the Office of the Auditor General. Material irregularities are initially identified as either irregular expenditure or fruitless expenditure. Then the AG will make a determination whether these material losses or these are material losses or they may not be material losses. And then we manage it from there as material irregularities. This presentation is also made up of the following in terms of how we are managing consequence management in the Department of Defense. We have instances where employees were found to have committed any financial misconduct. The employees or the employment, has rather been terminated. There are instances and cases where the Office of the Auditor General has referred some of these cases of irregularity to the Hawks, the SIU, and the Public Protector for further investigation. There are instances where employees who incurred irregularities have been protected out of the procurement environments. And our responses on the individual cases will show you how we are dealing with those and involvement of the legal environment. There are also cases that have been referred by the department for further investigation where we couldn't manage it internally. We also have cases that are under legal review, such as we've approached the state law advisors and the legal division within the department to advise us on such cases where investigations have been finalized. We also have some cases that have been finalized. However, they are currently under review for implementation of consequence management. Okay, moving to slide number 5, we'll deal with the individual cases of irregularities that we will present to you that we have recorded in our registers. The first one deals with irregular expenditure of 10.1 billion due to the imposition of the reduction of our budget by National Treasury. So that value or those amounts could not cover the actual feet on the ground. No investigation is required because the Department of Defense did not do anything wrong in the incurrence of those irregular expenditures because it was based on the reduction of our compensation of employees' budget compared to the actual feet on the ground. Based on discussions we've had with you in the past and engagements we've had between yourselves, ourselves and National Treasury, we have written a condonement letter to National Treasury on the 30th of August, 2023. We have not received any feedback from them yet with regard to the condonation of the irregular expenditure of 10 billion rand. The second case deals with the procurement of goods and services without following the safeguard legislation based on the terms of the contract. This we presented to you also in the past. This deals with Ops to Sano. We paid 1.4 billion with regard to the specific contract. However, the department has not taken a decision to investigate the contract in view of the findings that have been raised by the Office of the Auditor General. In the meantime, the process to review these terms between ourselves and an entity that we've been dealing with are now under review. The third case deals with an asset management contract. So in the year 2020, the AG identified as irregular expenditure, we paid approximately 617 million for an unfair bidding process where the PPPFA was not fully complied with. The AG has also raised this as a material irregularity, and we have dealt with it. An internal investigation has been finalized. However, on the 31st of August, the AG has decided that the department hasn't done much with regards to this, the implementation of the investigative report, and has referred it to the SIU for further investigation. The fourth case deals with the extension of an asset management contract. This was a contract that we entered into with Mpumalanga Department of Education, where we extended the contract beyond the 15% or 15 million as per prescripts. We have spent 604 million on this contract. A forensic investigation has been finalized. The chief of the SNDF received the report, and he was in the process of engaging with the former C-Log on the progress of the case in terms of how have we dealt with it and how have we dealt with the recommendations of the case. However, the C-Log was not fully involved then and was incapacitated and was not available to engage with the chief with regard to the progress on that specific investigation. We also have, that's serial number 5 at the bottom. We incurred 396 million rand relating to irregularities within the Simonstown Procurement Service Center. When we initially incurred all the irregularities, we engaged with the Internal Audit Division to review the completeness of all irregularities incurred by the Department of Defense. The Internal Audit Environment identified 777 additional incidences of non-compliance with procurement prescripts. A board of inquiry was instituted on the 20th of October, board of inquiry number 31 of 2023. And all the members that were affected by these incidences were rotated or moved out of that procurement center, pending the outcome of the investigation. This matter has been discussed with the Adjutant General, who has advised that it must be referred to Director of Military Prosecutions for further action. Next item deals with an irregularity of 273.5 million relating to the PPE contract. Members, you all are aware that the SIU did a full investigation based on promulgation by the President on all PPE related contracts that government may have incurred. And Department of Defense incurred 273.5 million irregular expenditure. 11 members of the SNDF have been charged with the following case number: Military Police case number 3 of 2022, and Pretoria Central case number 52 of 2 of 2022. One civilian's employment has been terminated based on the recommendations of the SIU report and based on internal processes in terms of consequence management. Case number 7 deals with awarding of a contract for a crew life capability cycle management. The AG raised an irregularity of 239 million because the department awarded the contract irregularly, where the company that was involved in phase 1 of the contract was appointed to manage phase 2. The accounting officer, an investigation has been finalized by the Inspector General, the Inspector General of the Department of Defense. The accounting officer has subsequently referred this case to an outside investigative organization in September 2022. Case number 8, valued at 227 million rand, deals with fuel-related contracts. Chairperson and members, you will notice in this presentation will be a lot of cases relating to fuel contracts. Fuel contracts where the department did not follow procurement-related processes. So a lot of them are there, and based on those fuel-related contracts, the AG has also referred some of these cases for further investigation. So I will highlight them as and when we get to those specific items. So in this case, we did not comply with Treasury Regulation 16A 3.2 of the legislation in terms of how to award contracts, where short-listed bidders did not comply fully with the mandatory requirements, and a lot of the few related contracts will be linked to that. A summary investigation has been finalized by the Logistics Division, and they recommended for a full Board of Inquiry 24 of 2023 to determine the circumstances that led to these non-compliances. Serial number 9 deals with an IT-related contract, a communication system where bids were not evaluated based on the criteria that was stipulated in the bid documentation. We spent 120 million of that contract. The initial Board of Inquiry that was instituted in 2018, Board of Inquiry 24 of 2018, had discrepancies. And the Law Division recommended that a new investigation must be instituted, which was instituted on the 20th of October 2023 with Board of Inquiry number 27 of 2023. Once these investigations are finalized, we will deal with the consequence management based on that. Case number 10 at the bottom, valued at 105 million rand, was for the backloading contract that was awarded to a company to bring back equipment that we had at our deployment areas. This contract was awarded irregularly based on the findings from the Auditor General that we did not fully comply with the pre-qualification criteria for awarding the contract. This case we presented to you also in the past is currently in line with the Pretoria Specialized Crimes Court. It's been postponed on a few occasions, and the next appearance will be on the 1st of March 2024. Case number 11, valued at 107 million rand. Those with a situation where we went ahead to tender or to contract with a company for aircraft fuel and aircraft services for the Southern Air Force VVIP units. The winning bidder or the winning company that the contract was awarded to did not comply with all the mandatory requirements. An investigation has been, a summary investigation was recommended, and a full Board of Inquiry has now been instituted, Board of Inquiry 30 of 2023, to manage this irregularity. Case number 12 deals with 22 cases, individual cases, within the sensitive environment of the Department of Defense, where procurement and contract management related prescriptions were not followed in terms of these 22 investigations. However, out of these 22 different incidences, investigations have been held with all of them. 12 requests have been finalized, valued at 5.4 million rand, and it's in the process of being sent to National Treasury for condonement. 10 cases have also been finalized in terms of investigation, valued at 96.3 million rand, and is currently under review by the Defense Intelligence. Once these cases are finalized and consequence management has been dealt with, it will be presented to the Joint Standing Committee on Defense on the status of implementation of the recommendations of the investigations. This is due to the sensitivity of these transactions. Point number 13, those were the contracts that was awarded for Microsoft licenses, valued at 96.5 million rand. The SIU and the Hawks finalized the investigation. A recommendation was made to recover the money from the company that the contract was awarded to for inflating or overcharging for the Microsoft licenses. An agreement was reached between the SIU and the company involved to recover 41 million rand. So far, 39.6 million has been recovered and has been paid back to the Department of Defense. Based on the recommendations of the case, 2 civilians employment has been terminated. Case number 14, valued at 89 million, deals with an IT-related contract where a company was appointed to assist with the IT-related environment and to manage the strategic planning of that environment. We paid 89 million for it. The department terminated the contract of the service provider based on the recommendations of the investigation. The matter is now with the Director of Military Prosecutions for further action. The next case, Chairperson and members, deals with a lease agreement valued at 79.9 million rand. where the department entered into a lease agreement for accommodation and premises for the defense and war colleges. We have paid 79 million for that. The Accountability Management Committee, which we have also in the past engaged you on, that is the management committee that sits once a month to deal with matters of irregularity and governance issues within the Department of Defense. They have recommended that an investigation must be convened with regard to the specific lease agreements for the two colleges. Serial number 16 deals with 13 incidences of irregular expenditure for the purchase of fuel. And I did indicate that we have a few fuel-related findings, and this was also 13 incidences which was identified by the internal audit environment, where we did not follow proper processes in terms of awarding a contract to these specific companies. A board of inquiry 28 of 2023 has been instituted and is currently in place. Serial number 17 deals with a company that we awarded a contract to for 57.5 million rand. This was a contract that was awarded to a company. However, the company decided to I'm looking for the right word, Chair, but the company subcontracted to other entities for the cleaning and repair of bulk storage tanks. The matter has been investigated by the military police and it was referred to the Specialized Crimes Court for further investigation. We are awaiting feedback from the Specialized Crimes Court in terms of the current case. The reason why that was the case was because the processes were not, when this company was awarded the contract, the company indicated they'll be able to do the work, but later on subcontracted the contracts. At the bottom of the slide, serial number 18 deals with a service provider that was appointed for wet and dry rations, where competitive bidding process was not followed. The initial board of inquiry of 2018 had discrepancies and had to be reconvened. And a new board of inquiry 27 of 2023 has been instituted to deal with this specific irregularity. Share number 19 on top of the slide number 9 deals with 96 individual incidences also relating to the fuel contracts, also identified by the Internal Audit Division, valued at 52.8 million rand. A board of inquiry was instituted on the 20th of October, board of inquiry number 26 of 2023 to deal with this aspect. Serial number 20, 48 million rand was awarded to a company relating to a vehicle contract, the RT57 contract. We did not follow the correct procurement processes because when you do follow, initially the AG indicated we did not follow the correct processes in terms of awarding a contract to a company that was on the RT57 contract. After investigation by the Logistics Division, we realized we did follow the correct processes. We have given all the supporting documentation to the Auditor General for them to evaluate and review it. Therefore, based on that investigation, there was no consequence management that needed to be instituted or any disciplinary action against anybody. We are awaiting the AG to give us a response to the evaluation of the documentation that we have given them. Serial number 21 deals with procurement of rations, where the committee that's formed part of the committee that was formed to evaluate these rations was not approved. So the members that sat on this specific committee did not have appointment letters to be sitting on the board or the committee. Hence, we incurred irregular expenditure of 38.7 million. An initial board of inquiry was instituted in 2018. There were discrepancies that were identified. Hence, a new board of inquiry was reconvened. Evaluation process for the SA Navy, where spare parts needed to be acquired or procured. A board of inquiry was also instituted, board of inquiry 23 of 2023 to manage the specific irregularity. The SA Army went through a process of various irregularities in terms of awarding of contracts at Army Support Base in Kimberley. These findings were also identified by the Internal Audit Division. The investigation has been finalized. The officials who created or caused the irregularity were moved out of that environment, the procurement environment within the Army Support Base. However, this has also been referred to the Director of Military Prosecutions for their further action in terms of moving those members out and what the next sanctions will be. Serial number 24 deals with various non-compliances relating to procurement at Army Support Base in KZN, valued at 35 million rand. The investigation has also been finalized and is now under review by the Director of Military Prosecutions for further action. Serial number 25, valued at 34.5 million, deals with incorrect bid evaluation process, where the SNAB also procured spare parts. The company that was awarded the contract we did not follow the right process in terms of awarding that contract. A military police case number 04 of 10 of 2018. So this was reported to the military police and the commercial crimes court in Belleville that is also being managed. Our next court appearance will be in January 2024. The next one you are well aware of was where we imported medication valued at 33.4 million rand. We did return the medication subsequently. There was various investigations by the public protector, the SIU, and then the ministerial task team dealing with that. A police case was further opened in Belleville relating to that specific case. The AG also raised as a material irregularity, but based on all the process that has been followed, they decided to resolve this material irregularity. However, this case is still here because there's an outstanding police case at Belleville Police Station dealing with a specific item. Serial number 27 also deals with a fuel contract valued at 29 million rand, where the evaluation criteria for fuel for the Northwest Province was not applied consistently. A board of inquiry has been completed. However, there were some gaps found, which led to the reconvening of this board of inquiry based on additional information that has been found to deal with this matter. At the bottom of slide number 10, serial number 28, deals with a contract that was awarded to an SOE. So we went through a process of trying to get an IT-related contract. Went to CETA. CETA could not help us, but they did not put it in writing. So we approached an SOE that deals with IT-related transactions. And we were able to get the service out of this SOE. However, the AG has indicated and raised a finding that we cannot just contract with SOEs, if I can use an example such as SAA, Telkom, without following procurement processes. But we are engaging with the AG and National Treasury, the Chief Procurement Officer of National Treasury, to deal with these aspects. That if there's an SOE in government that can provide services and CETA is not able to, what is the legitimacy in terms of legal prescripts when you have to procure services with SOEs and other government entities that we have SLAs with? Serial number 29 deals with catering services at 2 Mill Hospital, where we awarded a contract to a supplier whose tax matters were not in progress. The investigation has been completed with all the required prescripts in terms of condonement, and we have written to National Treasury in terms of the specific case to consider condoning this irregularity. Serial number 30 deals with challenges within the sensitive environment where contracts are awarded and the AG picked it up as irregularities. Investigations are in progress in terms of the sensitive environment related transactions. And once the investigation is finalized, it will be presented to the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence in terms of the contracts that were awarded. Serial number 31 deals with, it's also linked to the one that I indicated earlier on about the SOE. So there's a few transactions that we entered into contracts with SOEs where CETA could not assist in terms of procuring those services. And those are the irregularities that we're engaging with National Treasury and the Office of the Chief Procurement Officer to deal with that. Serial number 32 deals with almost similar to what I indicated earlier on, just like the one above, where we contracted and chartered a flight with SAA. And the auditors did indicate that we cannot contract directly with SAA, even though they may be a public entity, but we needed to follow processes. So there were initial discrepancies within the initial investigation. So it has now been returned back to the investigating team for them to address the discrepancies based on legal advice. Serial number 33 deals with a contract valued at 19.5 million rand during the COVID period. So during the COVID period, we did acquire or buy or purchase PPE due to our soldiers being out on the streets, protecting the citizens of the country. And the AG indicated we did not follow competitive bids. But a board of inquiry has been instituted, board of inquiry 25 for 2023, to manage this specific PPE related finding from the AG. Serial number 34 deals with also during the COVID period, where National Treasury press scripts indicated that when you do have an emergency deviation, you must report to National Treasury within 10 days that you've deviated from procurement prescripts. We did report to National Treasury, but it was beyond the 10 days. This was just a non-compliance. It was not like any irregularity had been incurred by the department. And it was also during that time where National Treasury were not physically at the offices and were not necessarily working from the office, and you had to get them virtually. So we did not respond within the 10 days or inform them about the deviation, but we subsequently did. So we've now written a condonement letter to National Treasury to condone, because there's evidence of us reporting the deviation, emergency deviation, but it was beyond 10 days, or not within 10 days. Serial number 35 deals with where the department awarded a contract, but we did not follow the processes because we did not calculate the functionality points accurately. A board of inquiry was initially instituted in 2018 but had discrepancies, and we had to go back and reconstitute a new board of inquiry on the 20th of October 2023. Serial number 36, chairperson and members of the portfolio committee, we've engaged with you on this aspect over the years, and the AG also did raise it as material irregularity. This is where we went ahead and procured the services of a service provider to supply jet fuel for the Air Force. The initial tender required the delivery of the fuel to be via rail. However, we had damaged the rail infrastructure. So we ended up changing from rail to road, and we informed all the members who initially tendered for the initial contract to move to give us new quotes to move from rail to road. Only one company then responded, and we awarded the contract to that one company because we required the jet within a certain time frame, and only one company responded. We paid 31 cents extra per liter of fuel. Hence, the AG raised us on irregularity, but we do not agree with this, and we have engaged with the members of the PCD on so many occasions. Why? Because we did follow all processes. We have submitted it to National Treasury for them to reconsider the restatement of the irregularity that we did record in our financial statements, and we are awaiting feedback from National Treasury relating to that specific case. Case number 37 at the bottom of the slide deals with a contract for outsourcing of catering services at 2 Mill Hospital, where we did not follow proper processes. The investigation has now been finalized by the SAMS environment, and it's on legal review now by the SAMS environment to manage the consequence management leading to that irregularity. Chair, now we're moving to cases of fruitless and wasteful expenditure. Serial number 38 deals with a fruitless expenditure that we incurred for a contract that we started, or that was awarded in 2010 This is within a sensitive environment. In total, we spent about 272 million rand for that contract. A board of inquiry has been completed. We are in the process of engaging the state law advisor to deal with this case, because it's a very, very old case since 2010. We need to now engage with the state law advisors on number one, whether if those funds are recoverable, yes or no, whether if the employees who were involved in this contract are still alive or not. But we are waiting for feedback from the state law advisors to deal with the specific case, and then they will advise on how to deal with the matter going forward. Serial number 39, you are well aware of it. This was where we got into leases at Echo Park within the Pretoria environment, where we leased buildings and were not fully occupied. We paid 108 million rand for it. And in the past, we did engage with you where the sector indicated that we had 2 investigations. We had an internal investigation that was finalized that concurred that we did incur fruitless expenditure. A board of inquiry was also convened that also agreed that we did incur fruitless expenditure. However, the board of inquiry indicated that we could not hold anybody liable, but the investigative report said we could hold people liable. This matter has been referred to the state law advisor for advice, and we did inform the members at our last presentation to you. So the SecDef has referred this matter to the state law advisor for them to mediate between the 2 reports and the 2 conclusions. The Auditor General has also referred this to the Public Protector for further investigation. Serial number 40 deals with the medical equipment that was purchased but not utilized. This was a medical equipment that was purchased for One Mill Hospital, where we could not utilize it because of it became obsolete and because of other things. The AG has referred this matter to the Hawks for further investigation. We as a department are managing this case and we are trying to auction it. The promise is so obsolete, nobody is willing to buy it, but we will try and auction it again. And where we will try and auction it, sorry, not again, but we'll try and auction it. And where we do not, nobody buys it because of obsoleteness of the assets, then we will engage with the Auditor General and then propose to have this asset written off. Serial number 41 deals with a codification software that was purchased in 2017, but was never installed. So we did pay for it. We did pay for the testing, the training, and the traveling costs, but we never installed it. The investigation is currently in progress. It hasn't been finalized yet. Serial number 42 deals with payment of interest for services rendered. So we paid interest for services rendered because we do not pay on time. The investigation is currently in process to deal with this fruitless expenditure and recovery of it, and then it to be written off in terms of the policy on how to manage fruitless expenditure. Serial number 43 also deals with within the sensitive environment where we contracted with a supplier and there were challenges with regard to the payments. The supplier took the Department of Defense to court, so we did not pay on time. So there were legal cases that were going on. And when the legal cases were finalized, the company still charges the interest. So we did pay the interest for these legal fees, plus the late payments. We have followed all processes in terms of dealing with this because the fruitless expenditure was based on the legal case that was ongoing. So it was not anybody that did anything wrong by intentionally not paying the specific service on time. And obviously there were also foreign currency fluctuations. A request for condonement was submitted to the accounting officer, and based on advice and based on processes in terms of the framework in dealing with fruitless and wasteful expenditure, the sector did approve the write-off of this specific case. Chair, we on the last slide in terms of the cases. So this case was interest that we paid for procurement of aviation rescue and firefighting equipment. That was between the Defense Material Environment and AMSCO. Both AMSCO and the Defense Material Environments have finalized their investigations and is currently under evaluation based on the reports that the investigatory reports to deal with the specific case in terms of the framework on dealing with fruitless and wasteful expenditure. The last 2 cases deal with the Air Force environment, where we incurred costs because we booked to send our pilots on courses. However, due to processes that were delayed, we did not obtain approval on time to send our pilots for these specific training courses. And unfortunately, once the payments were made, there was an obligation to pay them because we committed to attend those cases. And we had to make those payments. But investigations are underway to see where the challenge came from, and consequence management will be managed from there. Chair, this slide deals with what is the Department of Defense doing to mitigate these irregularities. We have indicated to you in the past about formal training. And we did indicate that we have an SLA with National School of Government to train our procurement practitioners in dealing with procurement irregularities. And the good note is, even though we've indicated that it will start at the beginning of next financial year or the calendar year from January 2024, we've actually trained a few people already through this program, because based after the signing of the SLA, we are able to train a few people. So people have been on training with regard to procurement related training. There's on-the-job training where the GRC, the Governance, Risk and Compliance Environment, when they do the oversight visits, they actually engage with these different procurement entities and workshop them on new legislation and train them on procurement related prescripts and to clear any discrepancies in terms of interpretation. Board of Inquiry training, and I'm sure you've noticed throughout the presentation that we are reconvening a lot of Board of Inquiries because our people that are involved in Board of Inquiries are not adequately trained from a legal point of view to understand the processes. So the Legal Services Division is in the process of rolling out training to train people that are part of the Board of, people that are part of convened Board of Inquiries. We're also considering procurement to be a mastering, where procurement practitioners can be trained specifically for procurement. So there was a point we're also considering a hybrid procurement environment. We've got civilians who are qualified in procurement related environments that will be mixed with logisticians who will now have this mastering to be able to understand how procurement will work. The Internal Audit Division also provides assurance audits for high value related transactions where they go and pre-audit some of these processes before our contracts are awarded. Delegation is also an issue. So we are reconsidering where delegations, where a specific procurement entity does not have the right capacity to manage procurement. Those delegations, those procurement delegations will be revoked and taken away from them. And obviously digitization of the procurement, assets and finance functions will also deal with a lot of these issues so that we'll be able to manage procurement irregularities going forward. Thank you, Chair. As you did indicate, we will do the next presentation. We will do both presentations together in terms of fraud and corruption from the Provost Marshal General, and then we'll deal with the questions from there. So if you just give me a sec to just load up the presentation, Chair.
Good morning, Chairperson, the Deputy Minister of Defense, members of the PCD, and colleagues. As said, I'm the Admiral Mopoto, the Provost Marshal General. My case is to deal with the fraud and corruption cases as were depicted in the presentation that we made on the 25th of May 2022. We've got 4 cases. The first one is a case that relates to one military hospital refurbishment that is to the value of 10 million. The forensic investigation was completed and the report was submitted to the Chief of the National Defence Force with recommendations that this matter must be forwarded to the Directorate Priority Crime Investigation to be investigated by the Hawks, because there were members where criminal investigations was to be conducted against. The meeting that we had with the Hawks in September of 2021 then resulted in an inquiry opened by the DPCI, which is DPCI HQ inquiry number 2 of September 2021. So the matter is still under investigations by the Hawks. The second matter relates to an ICT licenses and bids that were not evaluated according to the criteria stipulated in the bid documents. Case number 9 of 7, 2019 was open, and it involved 96 million on 5. The case was forwarded to the Hawks and SIU, where there was an agreement between the SIU and the company that the DOD was overcharged with about 41 million rand, and thereafter we've already managed as a DOD to recover an amount of about 39.6 million, which the process of recovering the rest of the money is underway. And 2 DOD officials has since been dismissed regarding this matter. The one on the bottom, number 3, is a case of non-compliance with the mandatory pre-qualifying criteria. A case docket at DEQA of 7/11 of November 2017 was open. It involved about 105 million. The owner or the owner of the company was arrested, and they appeared before the Specialized Commercial Crimes Court here in Victoria, was released on a bail of 80,000. The court case is ongoing as we speak. Now the case will appear in court on the 1st of March 2024. The last case is the case of the PPEs that was discovered in 2022, where a case docket number 3 of March 2022 was open with the estimate value of 14.6 million, where investigation is ongoing. There is a team that is working with the NPA, National Treasury, and Lexatu, where members of the SANDF, uniformed members, 11 of them, charges were preferred against them through the internal process. And there was one DOD official as well who was dealt with internally. The other matter was reported in the earlier presentation that the internal process has been followed. So the disciplinary process internally, a court will reconvene in January, and in February the case will go into to appear at the Directorate Legal Services Yearly Department. That is the 4 cases that of fraud and corruption that we're dealing with internally. Chairperson. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chair. We submit and we are ready to take questions.
Right. No, thank you very much, Acting Secretary. Colleagues, we can now ask questions. The matters are on the table. Are there any questions on the 2 presentations? Honorable Shelembe.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Some of the question will be on the issue of clarity. Chair, I think he has spoken about procurement in mastering. You know, I need more clarity on that one, how it works, how it works, the process, because something that is new to me, procurement in mastering. The second one, Chair, you know, it's just, I mean, I'm worried. I must appreciate, I mean, the presentation, but Chair, I'm worried. Why I'm worried, Chair? When it comes to mitigate, I mean, these problems, especially irregularities, I mean, in the department, it's like, you know, all the years, they were not, I mean, taking the procurement policy seriously. Because if you look, I mean, when it comes to procurement policy, as well as coming down to deal, I mean, with the supply chain management, my understanding is that procurement of goods in this department is done centrally. And for the department not being able, I mean, to see all these things happening, it gives me a worry now that after a long period of time having the procurement policy in place, that the department is now saying they are going to start the formal training in 2024. Now, it means now all the people that are currently employed, they don't know what they are doing. They still need, I mean, to be trained in 2024. That's very, very worrisome, Chairperson, considering that the department currently is struggling when it comes to the finance, especially as I indicated earlier, that, you know, if it was according to me, we had to look at, I mean, the zero budgeting, so that at least we can see now how can we consider, I mean, all other aspects, especially even the compensation of employees. Because if you look here, Chair, it is telling you that, I mean, the department is having people who do not have the requisite skills, I mean, to run the department. Look, there are a lot of smaller things. They talk about, say, if you look at case 17, bidder was amended. You know, I mean, was amended by the bidder himself. But where was the department when the bidder was amending that and the work later was given to a subcontract? Chair, I'd appreciate, I mean, the progress being made when it comes to follow up, the cases are being opened. But to me, I'm not happy with, I mean, the department when it comes to the top management. It seems now the department is like, I mean, headless, and the department is losing a lot of money and it's going going to make it difficult even the National Treasury to help when we need more money. How can you give a department money that says right now they are going to start, training? Look now, they speak about the board of inquiry to be trained, and the new term now, procurement mastering. Chair, maybe if they can assist me, well, I know that maybe they have explained, what's happening, what are the reasons. But if maybe they can tell me, beside this training coming now, as they are saying in 2024, there's going to be formal training, what is happening in the department? Is the department being unable, or they need sort of intervention? But it's worrying that, they still need to do a training by a department that has been allocated with billions of rand, but we have people that are incompetent. I'm sorry, Chair, that, but the point is I'm not happy at all with what is happening, but we'll look, appreciate the presentation and see how do we move forward. Thank you.
Yes, no, thank you very much. Maybe a question from my side, SecDef. How do I dismiss person who says the board of inquiries are nothing but a smoke screen to shield certain officers, high-ranking officers in the defense force? And they will tell you that if it is a junior officer, the turnaround is quick, and the consequence management it's also quick. But if it is at a higher level, if it involves officers, high-ranking officers in the defense force, number one, it takes time before a matter reaches a board of inquiry, if it ever does, showing some reluctance to bring it hold the high-rank officer to account. And when it ever does, when it ever happens, when the higher-ranking officer ever comes before the BOI and the findings come out, and there would be another BOI established to review the work of the BOI. And it starts with saying it took time before a BOI was put together to hold the high-ranking officer to account. But even when the results are out, the findings are out, there will be another BOI appointed to review the work of the BOI. And it then takes me to the next question, Acting SecDef. The Defense Force was founded in 1957. 1957, that's how old the Defense Force is. And of course, there is the precursor of the Defense Force also dates back, I think, from early in the 1900s, early 20th century. And but this one was founded, the current one was founded in 1957. But you can't tell me that they can't get things right the first time. 1957, that's how old the Defense Force is. But they can't get the inquiry right the first time. And you must appoint another inquiry to investigate, to review the work of the previous inquiry. I think it then takes me to the third question, which is, they're all interlinked. The third question, where in law I've looked at the relevant sections in the Defence Force. I've not gone back to the 1957 Act. And the 1957 Act, it will say the composition of the Defence Force of the Board of Inquiry will be as prescribed. In other words, will be in the regulations. But in the 2002 Defence Act, the composition is there. They guide you how to compose a Board of Inquiry. Now, here you are proposing training them, and I ask myself, after so many years of still training, you want to train people who will be in those Board of Inquiries. Who do you actually train? Because a Board of Inquiry, unless you say a Board of Inquiry I thought the Board of Inquiry is appointed based on where the occurrence took place, and also the grades of people involved, because it means that if an occurrence happens and it involves someone senior, obviously the person who must be appointed to preside must be someone at least senior than the person who is involved. Upfront, who would be appointed to preside in the BOE, because it depends, number one, in the environment in which that misconduct happened, to the level of in terms of the ranks of the persons involved. So you would not know unless you just saying it for the sake of saying it, that you actually trained them. Our concern is that until we are serious in the manner in which we establish the BOIs, and any suggestion that the BOIs that we have seen, especially involving senior high-ranking officers in the Defence Force, are nothing but a small screen to hide, to shield high-ranking officers, and you never see their matters coming before being taken to any logical conclusion. You may comment on that one. Maybe at some point we must then ask the Adjutant General to come and present to us as to, in the last 3 years, how many boards were instituted by the Defence Force involving high-ranking officials, and what has been the turnaround time, and in each case, and if there were findings, what were the findings, and so that we get a sense that indeed, if we speak consequence management, we're serious about it. I want to leave it at that. Over Thabo. I can see Mutle on the Mutle side.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair, and good morning to members on the platform. You have covered me, Chair, on the questions I wanted to raise on the Board of Inquiry, how they are structured, and what is it that is being considered when they are established. How do they ensure that those Board of Inquiries becomes independent in terms of the work that they are supposed to do? Because you raise a very important question to say, if you are asked, how do you justify that these are not boards that are established with a preconceived outcome? on any matter that they are confronted with, and how conflicted they could be insofar as matters they are investigating are concerned, to avoid a situation where they might be contested and the outcome are not really pleasant, and people might call for independent investigation because of a number of issues that might arise. But unlike Honorable Shilembe, I think on the presentation made by Admiral Mapoto, we must acknowledge that previously when they came, they had a long list of cases that they had in their position, and I think they have registered some progress insofar as ensuring that they conclude those cases. As you can see, that the presentation they made, the list is no longer that long, meaning that there is progress in terms of resolving some of these issues. Because we had a concern previously, Chair, if you recall, that it can be correct that they sit on these cases and there is no eagerness from their side to conclude them. They date as far back as 2012, 2011, and they are unresolved, so forth and so on. We think if they are able to address that, we must give them some credit in that regard. But my last concern is on a general point of view on the presentation that was made by the acting CFO. Looking at that presentation, Chair, generally one becomes concerned because some of these matters that are picked up by the AG, some of these irregularities are things that the department, given the fact that it's not a new department like DMV, it should have by now have systems in place that will pick up some of these general issues that they are raised there. How do you appoint a contractor without following processes? How do you then allow a situation whereby you procure something that you are not going to utilize? For an example, they speak here of a software that was procured but was not put into use. It's a similar case with what we once dealt with. I think it was an X-ray machine that was procured, whether it was 1 mil or 2 mil, I can't recall. But it has not been utilized because it was procured prematurely, without making analysis, without making... These are some of things that the department should do checks and balances, ensure that they are able to even ensure a quality control of any procurement process that they embark on. But their inability to do that, it's worrisome, Chair. So if they can clarify us on those issues, why are they allowing a situation to find themselves in such situation? Or what is it that they are doing to ensure that there are no repetition of these general problems that seemingly their procurement systems are not addressing? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You can hear Executive that we note that you are still under investigation, and most matters are under investigations, except those few that whose investigations have been completed and have since been referred to the SIU Hawks and so on and so forth. We note that, and we congratulate you, we commend you for that, but most of them are still at a level of BOI finalizing and the BOI reviewing the findings of the BOI. And so so that's our area of concern. And it's in the past, the report would say the BOI has completed its work and referred the report to the chief, you know. And now today we are here that no, we asked, but the chiefs must come and give us feedback as to why they've not acted on the findings. And now we're told that no, those matters are now being reviewed. Another BOI or BOIs have been appointed to look at them. So that's where our concern is, that until really we attach seriousness to the BOIs, and we'll never get it right. But the question I wanted the Agent General to deal with is not in the legislation, that's what I said, is where in the law it says that the work of a BOI can be reviewed by another BOI. You see, you have appointed a DC, it's looked into the matter, and it made findings. But to appoint another DC to review the work of a DC, maybe in the PSF side and the public service, you don't do it. But you do it here, and it's not provided for in the legislation. And I think if the Agent General is in the meeting, will actually enlighten us how, by what authority is the work of a BOI reviewable by another BOI. And okay, so those were the questions in the main around the effectiveness of your investigations. Over to you, Secretary.
Thank you, Chair. I will start by the concern that has been raised by Honorable Shalem. We have 79 procurement centers, and in those procurement centers, not all of those people are trained. I must admit that we have a school of logistics, but we are thin on the ground when it comes to logisticians. But procurement and logistics are different as well. So why we are taking them we have spoken to or signed an agreement with the School of Government is to assist those who will require who will require formal training, so that, because not all irregularities are because people are deliberate. It could be because they are not well trained there. That is the root cause of what we've seen when we go to these procurement centers, that sometimes there are those who are really not sure what they need to do. So in those cases, we will then have in-house training that will be done by both the CLOC environment as well as my environment. In other words, we have a directorate here that looks at procurement governance. We are not waiting until 2024 to start and train. We already have slots, but the slots this year were limited. We have taken some of them already. They have gone through the training at the School of Government. Next year, we are going to have a larger numbers that we are going to that we are taking for training. So when we're saying we want this as a mastering, procurement as a mastering, we want our logistician and those that we take there to actually undergo a formal course, so that they know what they are doing. They can interpret the regulations from National Treasury. They can interpret instructions. They can interpret all the prescripts that have to do with procurement. That's why we say it must have a mastering, so that they are abreast of what is happening in the procurement environment, and they are able to proceed with that line in their areas. And then the board of inquiries, yeah, it's difficult to say. I will request General Ramanswane to take this one, but at a broader level, a board of inquiry is actually there to assist commanders to be able to deal with complex cases, so that they can take steps to cure whatever it is that was investigated. Yes, probably there might be, sometimes there could be collusion, but we are taking that a board of inquiry, if used correctly, can be in the hands of, allow a commander to make a decision. And the high-ranking officials were taken. I mean, I've been here. Yes, high-ranking officials were charged, had appeared in court, in the military courts already. And while I'm saying the Adjutant General wants to roll out training on the board of inquiries, is because the people you appoint in the board are not necessarily attorneys. They are not legal people. And therefore, you need to all the time make sure that they are trained, and they can conduct a credible board of inquiry. The technical matter that the chair is raising about where in the law where it says a board of inquiry can review another board of inquiry, I can't answer that, because that's technical. Maybe, but what I know is that a board of inquiry goes through some steps and is vetted by legal services. So if there are legal services discrepancies, my understanding is that they can actually send it back and say, but you should have asked this evidence and that evidence, similar to how a prosecutor will work with the investigating officer. But I'll allow General Ramanswane to expand on this one and why we keep on, it looks like we review this another board of inquiry to review another one. General Ramanswane, through you, Chair.
Chairperson, honorable members, thank you very much. I would have loved, I'm directed by the acting secretary, but I would have loved to, with the permission, to start at a certain point that concerned so much based on the question of Honorable Shellen. I think out of the number of procurement units which the Secretary for Defense spoke about, just to bring this to the attention of honorable members, and to say that the department takes matters of procurement and all the irregularities that we have right now very serious. We have at this point in time, when it comes to the issues of delegation, there are units whose delegations have been stopped. And that has been done precisely because of the internal audit findings, because of the Auditor General's findings. And memory saving me well, I don't have the stats now. Out of the 79 that we have, I think we've got in the region of about 52 that are operational. What we do, we send out from the corporate level those people who are well versed in terms of procurement processes and what should happen. And they go around to be checking all of these things to see if there's compliance. And they follow these precisely given the audit findings and the internal auditor's findings. And they have stopped that. So those delegations they don't have. We have to find other ways of ensuring that the unit runs without anybody in the unit that is getting involved in matters of procurement, because the unit then do not have delegations. So I'm saying it's a matter that the department takes very serious, and that we can, at any given point in time, indicate to honorable members to say, this and this and this unit do not have the delegations as things stand. Why? Because we want them to correct certain things so that we can be able to move ahead in terms of that. And those corrections, we don't want them to delay and to take time. They must prove to us that in terms of the requirements that is expected from that particular unit to conduct procurement, that they do meet what is expected of that unit. And I want to go now to the issue of Board of Inquiries. May I say this? A Board of Inquiry is a commander's tool. It is a commander's tool. A commander uses the Board of Inquiry to unpack that which would be a complex matter, to make it much more simpler. For him to understand, to say that, now I know where all the wrongs come from. It is that commander's tool. Now, once a Board of Inquiry has been done, and it comes before him, he looks at this Board of Inquiry, it makes no sense. The commander obviously still sits with a dilemma with him that says that, but yes, I've made you the president of this board, but I don't know what is happening here in this Board of Inquiry. How then do you proceed when you've got that situation? A commander, does he say, I'm going to use this, but it is so unclear. He can't live with this. So therefore, then he would then order to say, no, I want the following. On that same board, but the second instance where there can be such referral backs is when the commander says, okay, I have seen this board, I am happy, and then it is taken to legal. The legal services division would then, these are the people who are so versed in law, they're doing these things every day. And therefore then, without prejudice to whoever that is, the allegations falls with him, you want legal to do some due diligence. And when they do that, legal is gonna say, but what this investigation is saying to us here, it's still, we are not hearing this. Oh, yeah, there's facts that there's issues that are missing. Or legal might decide, but this Board of Inquiry, in the way that it is, cannot be used. And therefore then, we suggest you reconvene this board. And when you reconvene this board, these are your most important areas for you to look at in terms of this board. And then we've got, because the issue is, the Board of Inquiry must unpack this very complex matter that we will be dealing with. These are the circumstances under which you do get these kind of situations. Now, I want to say, as I said, it is the commander who this is his tool, but who does he appoint as the person that must manage the Board of Inquiry? The person to be appointed to manage this Board of Inquiry must be a person that is a senior to the situation itself that has happened. Senior in rank, and a person who will be able to manage this particular situation from a reasoning point of view, from a logic point of view, from deciding which witnesses do I want, etc., etc. And so from there, then that person is appointed. One would even say that this is a person that has got the know-how in terms of this. But here is the thing that I want to talk about in terms of the investigators when we talk about training. We're talking about training of these investigators. Let's recall one thing. The soldiers in the SANDF, they are not lawyers. But when they are not lawyers, they've got military law training. That military law training, they are not every day practicing it. They are not every day sitting and doing investigations. So here is an officer, he's gonna take 10 years and he has not seen a board of inquiry. Today he's appointed to say that you are going to lead this board of inquiry. Then we find that there are gaps. They have to be corrected, those gaps. The board of inquiry must give us the answers that we want. Now, are we using this board of inquiries to get other people to say that, but it's predetermined outcomes? I want to say the following. We have right now, the last charges that I remember in this department, I think it was last year also. The last charges in this department, generals have been charged. So I would be saying that if you can go to the level of charging a general, who else then would stand to say you charging a general officer is being charged for having committed something. And out of these charges, we are aware that the court process is gonna be continuing. They've appeared, the court process is gonna be continuing. We leave it with the Court of Military Judges to deal with the rest of the things. So just to give that assurance, there was a time when we had to charge the whole unit, not the whole unit, those officers who were so much involved in that unit, but they were senior officers of the unit. And we did so, and this was one of the cases, if I remember correctly, it was here in Pulukwa. And these were the senior officers, and we charged them. So from where I'm sitting, Chair, I think I don't want to say that the honorable members from what they are saying would not be patient with us for very good reasons, of course. One of the reasons being that it to assist the department to say, fund the department. But at least what I'm hearing from the honorable members are not requesting much from us. The honorable members are saying to us, you have to go an extra mile to make sure that we get rid of these things. Like
the general keeps breaking. I'm not too sure if I'm the only one who is experiencing it.
I'm experiencing the same, Chair.
Or yet lately. And now it's just gone quiet. I think the DOD is delinked from the system. I don't see them.
Yes, Chair, they seem to have been
I would say to them.
Yeah, except Aponte. I think Aponte on his line. Yes, Aponte?
Chairperson, it's
oh, yes. Okay, yeah, back. All right.
So, Chair, my apologies. We did not realize that we were out. But I don't know where I was, but I'll continue. I think, Chairperson, from what we were saying, the last thing that I was saying was that we do appreciate what the honorable members are saying to us.
Yes, you were on that point, General. You are on that point.
Yes, we do appreciate what the honorable members really are asking from us. The honorable members are asking from us to say that whilst you've got problems with budget cuts, etc., but please go an extra mile. And I'm saying, with the training that we've now started, and I think that is the extra mile that we're trying to do. We are saying, let us go and have some training, including for those officers that will be involved in the board of inquiries. When the situation is like this, you don't sit back and you don't do anything about it. You've got to say, what are we diagnosing here? Let us go ahead and make sure, and we are going to be taking them to the School of Military Justice, wherein some of them they will get these refreshers, they will be trained. These are the things. I think this is the momentum that we need to keep up. However, as I've said, that We are happy, honorable members, and that the honorable members really have got the right to say to us, look, don't lose it. And we are doing our best not to lose it. The other thing, Chair, I have explained the issues around the Board of Inquiry, why this one, and what is the composition of the board of the board? Who is there in the board? In the board, the numbers obviously are determined by the commander, but this the minimum prescribed number. That is the president of the board, a member of the board, and the secretary of the board. The president of the board can have 2, 3, 4 other members and co-opt other members given the expertise in those particular fields that are being investigated. And that is where we are, Chairperson. If I may leave it at that for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes, thank you. Yes, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. I think we've covered the questions. Just to add on the issue of delegations, that what we have started as well is that when there is a request for a delegation, the people from corporate from here will go and visit that place, and they can only recommend to me as acting secretary when they have satisfied themselves.
You are breaking, Secretary. But we have lost.
Yeah. Are we off? Should I go? Oh, okay. Chair, apologies again. It looks like our network today is not helping. I was off for a while, but I was saying, Chair, even I was saying. I was saying, Chair, even with the approval or issuing of delegation, and now we have started to first go and send those who are qualified to go and check whether a unit is ready, and the delegation can only be recommended for approval once we have satisfied ourselves. And we think that this will go a long way into making sure that we don't incur an unnecessary irregular expenditure that would have been caused by the fact that the unit is not ready to execute the delegations. And delegations are not for the unit. The delegation is per individual. So it will be for the OC of the delegation in order to control, to make sure that not everybody just signs, but everything is done through someone who's authorized to do so. Chair, I think we have exhausted, unless your questions, unless I've left out something, Chair.
No, thank you very much.
Submit.
Thank you very much, Secretary. No, it's fine. We would want to leave it at that. But please take this away that, when you have a board appointed in 2023 to review the board that made its findings in 2018, they were, to review the board, the work of the board that made its findings in 2018. And how must we receive that? I heard you, Chief of Staff, saying, no, indeed, this happens, and if the commander is not happy, we'll recommit the work back to the investigation with some questions back to the BOI, And if he thinks the POI is not, delivering the quality work, may appoint a new POI to then review the work of the POI. And we hear you, but you have a board appointed in 23 to review the work of the findings of the board that produced those findings, those outcomes in 2018. And we think we must not doubt the bona fides in that process. You are putting us in a great difficulty to accept that. One. Two, you have officials, as we speak, who are sitting at home for years drawing salary. For years. And you can see that there's no, there's no, I'm looking for this word. It's clear that those people, you don't want to take them through the process, so that you make it a decision. You bring them back or you fire them. You see? And so I'm saying these are situations that remain sore when we look at consequence management. It's not consequence management to, in actual fact, the person, if he stays at home and draws a salary, is being rewarded. Oh, okay. We're all working here. You go home, you stay there, but we'll pay you. We'll maintain you for doing nothing. You're home doing nothing. And we can't call that consequence management. So it means that those disciplinary mechanisms within the Defense Force are simply letting us down. And someone may even argue, and that I think the previous SecDef said, how do I explain it to PSEP members that we discipline them, but the very same colleagues that were in the same, who ought to be charged for the same offense, are staying there happily. Nothing, they're not being touched. I think that's what the SecDef said. SecDef said we act on the PSEP staff, but you're not acting on the uniform members. But both these were in the same were responsible for the same misconduct. We've acted, you're not acting. So I hear you. Let's say you are breathing there's a fresh air. You are trying to bring a fresh air into the whole thing. We'll accept that if that's what you are saying. But the past has not been so good. That you had to be pushed to this level. You know, there was a year where there was no movement, not even a single movement on the matters that we're talking about now. A year went by without a single movement. You know, if you're saying no, now it's under new management, we're really acting, and you assure us that there will be results, then I take it. But if you say that's what you have been doing all along, I would say, I don't buy it. The reason why we now have this new POIs all having the date of October is because last time we sent you away. In fact, not to send you away. We asked the chief to come, chief, come and give us progress. And the chief, upon realizing that there was no progress, he asked that the matter be delayed to today. And now what we are being told, the progress is that there's a POI on top of another POI. A POI on top of another POI. A POI reviewing findings of 2018. How really must we be convinced that what you are telling us today is something that really we must be happy about. Must we really accept that what you are telling us today, there's progress? I don't know. I thought I should just raise this point because it's a sore point, and that you need really to. Treasury is saying we're not going to give you money because we are not convinced. We're not going to condone these matters to give you. You go to them and ask for condonement. We're not going to condone because there's no consequence management. You know, you want us to do this, you are not acting when you ought to be acting in matters that are fully within your own purview. I don't know, but DM, you are in the meeting, and we want to just close this discussion before we take the next point. I thought we should just vent on this because the reason why the matter is here today and we could not deal with it then is because the chief asked for time, and it's clear he was not happy with what he was getting. And but what is recorded as progress, it's, to me, it's I don't know whether I should accept it as progress. That's where the issue is. As DM, over to you, sir.
Honorable Chair, thank you very much. And to honorable members of the Oversight Committee, thank you very much for the engagement the committee has had with the department. Record of work around the challenges the department is battling with in relation to fruitless, wasteful, and irregular expenditure. The department is continuously, dealing with. I think, Chair, what I should premise my comments with is to say to the Oversight Committee that the military command has unfortunately lost one of its members. Maybe some of the committee members may be aware of this, that on Monday we got the report, the news that the Chief of Logistics of the SANDF, Lieutenant General Polani Brian Ndlovu, passed on Monday. Further details will be shared in due course about preparations for the funeral and also a memorial service that the Defense Force will arrange for. General Polani was very much, seized with some of the issues that we are discussing today, as members are aware that the logistics division of the department, excuse me, is very much involved in the procurement processes of our department. Having said that, Chair, I want to say that the Secretary for Defense and the Chief of Staff have provided information that I would imagine assist members of the oversight to have an understanding of the challenges that we have. And I want to thank them for the detailed manner in which they've dealt with the answers to some of the questions. But furthermore, Chair, it is from where I sit important to say that the information shared and this is what we have agreed with the management, the leadership of the department, that in some areas, the information, the disclosures are not complete. They are not complete in relation, for instance, information around the cases themselves. But you also have information that is incomplete about the corrective measures or action that is presently ongoing. If I may just make an example, in the schedule of the cases that were presented here, there is item 9 where it says bids were not evaluated according to the criteria stipulated in the bid documentation. But there is no information about what this bid was all about, what was involved. And it does not assist the oversight in all instances of these cases reported to know exactly what we are talking about. And we've agreed that in a future presentation, the documents should provide disclose information completely. The other point, of course, Chair, that I must submit is that the department is not headless, as you had, and the department is not incompetent. What the department's leadership is doing, the Secretary for Defense has shared that, and the Chief of Staff has shared that. However, it is important that we should commit ourselves to providing a supplementary information to the oversight on this presentation or on this discussion we've just had today. And the supplementary information should speak to the details of what the department says are interventions that they are considering right at the end of their presentation. For instance, reported formal training that is arranged for with the National School of Government. If we can commit ourselves to submitting in writing information with the details of the training that is going to be provided by the National School of Government, and also the numbers of officers that would be sent for that training, and of course the areas of proficiency in which they are going to be trained in the content of that training, so that the oversight can also, have a good grasp of the extent to which improvement can be expected. In relation to, for instance, procurement as a mastering, I think that is a very apt intervention. The department must, I propose that in time, and probably somewhere early next year around February, we provide an update on progress around this procurement as a mastering plan to introduce some of our employees in, so that it should not just be a statement of intent. The oversight must actually have a good sense of progress made in that regard. The issue about the internal audit, that it must provide the assurance to some of the high value contracts. My understanding that is internal audit as a matter of convention, should be doing that. And we'll make sure that it does happen, because that's what internal audit is there to assist the accounting, officers, to make sure that every decision, and especially on how value contracts is done or taken in accordance with the guidelines of the supply chain regime. So that's what I propose, Chair, we commit ourselves to. And lastly, of course, I should just make the point that we are dealing with the challenges of the Department of Defense in relation to these areas of, how resources are properly looked after, utilized responsibly, and stuff like that. It is a problem which is not peculiar to our department. I'm saying this advisedly, Honorable Chair and members. In the other departments that are as big as the Department of Defense, you would find that the schedule of these cases of fruitless, irregular, wasteful expenditure runs in numbers between 400 to 500 cases at any given time on their schedule. And of course, they share this information, these schedules, with the oversight in Parliament and provide on an ongoing basis reportage that indicates which cases have now been removed from that schedule because they have now been dealt with and disclosure, so that we can see percentage-wise the rate at which the problem is being dealt with. And we will look into possibilities from our side of sharing that information with the oversight. It is, of course, theoretically on paper, management, problem that does not expose the fullness of the problem. The reality is that these issues that we are discussing largely are a reflection of what is happening within departments in government in relation to leadership that is doing its utmost to make sure that our government observes ethics, and there is a responsibility in the manner in which we use government resources. It is a government-wide problem. It is real, and the consequences that it involves should not be made light. Consequence management should not be made light. As members can see, we're talking of huge amounts. We are talking of millions and millions of rands to implement ethical leadership in a very rigorous way. It comes with consequences, and it calls for courage in the managers who are responsible for this work. So I just want to make that point to say it is not just a theoretical question, it is in real life a very challenging responsibility for this Department of Defense as well. But thank you very much once again for the critical observations the oversight has made, and we will do our best to improve as advised. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then say that, of course, we will, the last slide that the acting CFO presented on the different areas of training, we would want to make a follow-up on that one, precisely because the issue of training, last year it was raised, and the year before last it was raised that there will be training in discussion with the School of Governance and they've agreed that they will train staff, especially in the procurement environment and so on and so forth. We've not gone back to the department to ask in the past trainings, how many people were trained, in which areas were they trained, and if there is still more training to be done, what training in what area, and are you seeing any improvement since you've undertaken the training and so on and so forth? I think is the area that we need to look at. Now there is going to be a training of the BOIs. Fine, we accept that. It's another area we would make a follow up on, because we have all agreed that that's the area of weakness that keeps that brings us back to all this repeat audit findings. That until we have closed it up, we're not going to move forward. So we accept that. I also accept everything that the chief of staff and the acting executive have said, that they are really working hard to turn the situation around. I may be still stuck in the past, forgetting that there's now a new management, and they've of course inherited those problems, but they're working hard to try and deal with them. I accept that. Maybe let's leave it at that for now. Chabo, Mutle, is your hand still up before we move?
Yeah, so it's on the point that you were raising, that we need to get progress. In addition to what you have said, they have made a commitment that they are going to establish a procurement center. We need to know how far they are in terms of that process. It was not only training, it was an establishment of a professionalized center, procurement center. Secondly, it was the two centers that have got a 5 million delegation. There was a proposal that they will to speed up the process of procurement and relieve the pressure from the board to increase the delegation from the two centers. We need to find out how far they in terms of that. Thank you, sir.
Yes, please take note of that, Brian, that those are matters that would one day to follow up when we meet with the department. And thirdly, they said that they were going to digitalize their system. Apparently, if they want information, they must go right down to those 74 procurement centers, and because they unable to get the information at a press of a button, so they must be physically go down there. And there was a commitment that they were looking forward at digitalizing the whole thing, so improve transparency, accountability, and ensure effectiveness. Those are matters that we'll go back on to discuss with the department. Maybe the last point on this one, maybe it's the adjutant general at some point, to come and just brief us on what has been the turnaround time in the last 3 years. Whether we is considering the Chief of Defence Force is considering establishing a standing unit with professionalized people who can assist with presenting the state case in every situation, because unless you have people available with the necessary expertise and the skill to present a state case at every single board meeting. We'll keep having the same challenges where a matter, after investigation and findings made, the commander would say, man, I'm still not happy with this. And so those are the areas. How do you professionalize? That's a question. How do you professionalize the BOIs, notwithstanding the training that is being talked about? SecDef would want to pass on this. Can we pass?
Yes, Chair. We've noted your comments, and we've noted the guidelines from the DM as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, colleagues. Let's quickly move to the last presentation on the budget. It's about 15-page presentation over to SecDef.
Which one is that? 15 pages.
Yeah, you clarify just to give that.
Thank you very much, Chair and members of the PCD, as well as thank you, DM, as well, for giving me this opportunity. I'm going to present the second quarterly report. It does include the finances as well. If you allow me, Chair, I won't go through the formal legislative and regulatory framework that governs the compilation of this quarterly report, because that's familiar to members. I'll go straight to slide 7, where I'm indicating that we, in line with the requirement of reporting, we report according to the results-based framework, and that we also have to report on impacts which appear in our strategic plan. And members, whilst the impact of all what we do should be to enhance and contribute to peace and stability, security and stability in the RSA, the region, and Africa. This is conditional if we have an appropriately resourced and sustained defense capabilities. Then we have 2 outcomes, members, that are familiar with. One is on civil control of defense, and the second one is the effective and sustainable defense force capabilities to execute ordered commitments. Then we report on 5 outputs. One is more to do with the administration of the department, effective administration, and that is mostly in the area of the Secretary for Defense, but obviously the chief is also expected to contribute to this output. Then we have force preparation as an output, then the provisioning and force employment, as well as support to the capabilities. Those are our 5 outputs. They therefore are coupled to 29 indicators that are for public consumption and 68 targets across the 4 quarters. Chair, we are reporting on Q2. Therefore, this quarter, we have 14 targets. We have achieved 50% on these targets, and members will see where are the problems or where are the problems areas. Chair, on slide 10, that's where I am now. We're not doing well. I'll focus on the red as far as the reserve forceman days are concerned. We planned for 1.9 as a result of the MOD instruction and the plan that National Treasury required from us to reduce COE, and therefore it also had an impact on the reserve forceman days. What I can indicate though is that at the end of the second quarter, we are already at 74.6%. And there is a possibility, a huge possibility, that we are going to exceed the 1.9 billion, 1.9 million by the end of the third quarter, probably. Then at the bottom, you have a yellow there, which is compliance with external operations. And this is because of copper, which is the vessels or naval platforms that are not ready. They are due to delays in the area of the Amsco dockyard. Then I can move to slide 11, where we deal with the compliance with the SADC standby force. And here we are at 88%, but I should indicate that again, we are going to be impacted negatively by the lack of naval platforms. And the sea hour, the hours flown, we are red there, we are only at 30%. And the hours at sea, we are only at 19%. And this is due to various reasons, including serviceability of our platforms. And then on slide 12, we're reporting there, Chair, I'm going to focus again on the red, the percentage payment within 30 days. In the first quarter, it was 83%, and in the second quarter, we are at 70%. And this is due to a number of factors. One, the non-integrated IT systems, and we have what we call the receipt vouchers, and we don't pay unless there is a receipt voucher, and sometimes there are delays in the procurement environment to produce these receipt vouchers. There are also instances of medical invoices where our members would go to a medical practitioner who is not in the database. So before you can pay them, you have to put them in the database. And there is also an issue of a high vacancy rate in that environment, the finance environment. And Chair, I must just indicate there that the issue of vacancies might haunt us for a while, because there is a directive from DPSA working with National Treasury that there should be a hold on the filling of vacancies unless they are critical posts, and ministers are required to seek concurrence from the Minister of Public Service and Administration and provide motivation why they would want to fill a particular post. So that might impact on our staffing negatively. Then when we go to the training, that will be force preparation. The rate there mostly will be because some exercises or some training didn't happen. I must indicate that with the landward, there was an exercise on jungle warfare that took place. However, another one was rescheduled and will be done in Q3. Then when we come to maritime, the learners, they have not yet completed, and therefore the learning or training will be completed in Q3. There was also here an exercise, maritime exercise, that was also rescheduled for Q3. Chair, I'm going now to capabilities. We have one there that is causing a red, and that is the percentage compliance with the number of external operations per year, and this refers to the absence of COPA that did not take place. And then the last one, and that is the support to the capabilities. We have there 2-1 vetting decisions now, mainly in this area. It is the capacity that is available, limited capacity that is available within the DI environment to undertake vetting. The other one is that sometimes there are delays with the provision of fingerprints that are requested from SARS. And then the other red is there, Chair, that has to do with information and communication, is mostly because of the CETA invoices that we sometimes receive not according to plan, as well as the capacity in that environment as well. So all in all, Chair, on slide 13, we're just giving you a view of what we have achieved, which is 50%, 7 out of 7. It doesn't mean that others were not, they were not achieved, but it doesn't mean that nothing happened in those environments. On slide 16, just quickly, Chair, we had planned for a strength of 70,217, and we ended the quarter with 67,770, and therefore they have a delta of 2,447, which might help us save a little bit on the cost of employees. And then when it comes to reserve, I've already spoken about reserve, and I'm not going to repeat myself there, Chair. On the compensation of employees, we started at 30.6 billion, but with a projected expenditure of 34.4 billion. So we will have a shortfall of 3.8 billion share. Then we come to the HR interventions to reduce costs. One of those cost of employees was exit mechanisms. Members will recall that last year we were given a billion, and this year we have 800 million to fund the exit strategy. I must indicate again that we have exited 557 on MEM and paid 576 million in respect of GEPF and 297 million in respect of what we call departmental liabilities. So members are aware that what we have from National Treasury is only for GPF, but we have to fund the what you call a severance package. When it comes to PSET members, we exited 76 PSET members with what we call the EISP and spent 9 million that was paid for the GPF and 53 million in terms of departmental liabilities. I must indicate, Chair, there that the number looks small on those PSEP that have been exited because the DPSA has to approve or support, even though our minister will have a final say. And they have indicated that they are not happy with some of the submissions that we have meant to them, that we have sent to them, because they might impact on the equity status of the department. Now, this is very difficult sometimes decisions to make, because if you have a deputy director who's been sitting in a position for 20 years and they are requesting to go because they don't see any prospect. If you say don't go, it means you are somehow saying they are prospect, but they've been in the same position. Unfortunately, in PSEP environment, you don't rotate people, so it means you have this person sitting there for quite some time. Slide 18, we are just indicating the status there of our HR. The vacancies that have been deactivated, the average strength, and the capped allowances, where we, as part of the plan to deal with the cost of employees, we kept some allowances, we don't increase them. I'm not going to comment on the mandates, except on MSDS there, that we have an intake of 1,959, and members will recall that now we are doing intakes only every other year, not every year. The governance and accountability, we have promulgated an instruction that is trying to resolve or deal with matters from that were raised by Auditor General. All the environments that are involved are required to come up with action plans that will be submitted to the FMD environment, Chief Financial Officer. Our internal audit will then assist to monitor the plans. I have indicated the matter of 30 days payments that we are not doing very well because of a number of challenges that have indicated, ranging from the non-integrated systems to high vacancy rates. I'm not going to repeat that one. Then the payments that are made within 30 days, we have put in place corrective measures. One is the development of a process, an electronic process that will track invoices from the time you receive until the payments are made. And then we also will engage with the stakeholders to make sure that we optimize processes to ensure timely payments. Why we say that is because sometimes suppliers don't give us sufficient information, and therefore there is some toing and throwing and delays until the invoices are complete and can be paid out. We are also looking at having integrated training, the SCM people or procurement people and finance functionaries, so that the whatever anomalies one finds, they shouldn't be at the tail end when you have to make payments. The issue of RVs is a challenge, because there are areas where you don't necessarily need an RRV, especially in areas where you have you have a contract and you have a for example, the photocopy machines. And then we have approached National Treasury to assist us with the development of the integrated accounting system. We are hoping that should we have that, it will be easier because you will record your government order up until you receive your invoices and you're able to pay them. And then on regional security, just to indicate that we are still in the DRC, at Mavivi, the Tactical Intelligence Unit and the Quick Reaction Force Group, and also helicopter units in Goma. With Obvigeda, we are still in Mozambique. We are indicating that in Q2 to assist with the fighting of any act of terrorism in that area. Then on slide 25, support to the people. We're still having the 15 subunits. We can only add subunits if we are funded to do so. And then I'm just indicating the areas where we have been active in the borderline. Of Corona, we have one that was conducted, one patrol that was conducted in the Eastern Cape during the period under review. Under Op Prosper, members are aware, we are still supporting SAFs with safeguarding critical infrastructure, safeguarding power stations. We also assisted or supported SAFs when there was a burning or torching of trucks. And that was mainly in Limpopo and Mpumalanga. Then in KwaZulu-Natal. Then we are on standby. Members are aware that we will be assisting with combating illegal mining. The employment papers are already out by the president. We have been promised, and I'm saying we have been promised because it's not yet in the bag, 155 million from CARA funding. However, we had requested about 492 million for this operation. So when it comes to the finances, we are slightly overspending. The planned expenditure was 48%, and we are at 51%. And members will see on slide 29, the areas that are red are where there is a slight over expenditure. But most of the over expenditure is for cost of employees. And there is where we are underspending and a little bit, like your green. And then the military health support is also overspending, has overspended a little bit, and as well as defense intelligence. Now, on your slide state, I'm just indicating the areas where we have overspent, and that those are mostly cost of employees. The exit strategy has contributed to the overspending chain, but we need to rejuvenate. So we will try and fund where possible. Then there was an issue with AMSCO. where the capital equipment was delivered late, and therefore it became the first commitment. The lower expenditure is on the administration, maritime, as well as general support. And mainly this is because we no longer transfer money to Department of Public Works. We only now pay for our accommodation through invoices. And I've already indicated AMSCOM and the contract management and prolonged procurement processes that also impact on the spending. And the delays administratively on our processes take quite long time, procurement processes. And that also causes underspending, as well as the fact that CETA are only paid through invoices. So when we don't get invoices, it means we wouldn't pay. The 32 on slide 32 is the same information. It's only that now is on economic classification. I can just indicate there that the transfers and subsidies that we're referring to there is the liabilities that we pay over to GPF as a form of subsidy. Okay, I've indicated the issue of AMSCOM and on that small overpayment there, which becomes the first commitment. So we are indicating, Chair, that the overspending, as I've indicated, is largely on COE or as a result of COE. We were allocated, or we got a supplementary budget or allocation of 3.2 billion from National Treasury. And the 3.2 billion is for the Air Force, 1 billion for the Air Force, 500 million for the Navy, 850 for Vigela, and the rest for men. And they all in total then make 3.2. And out of this, we have used now approximately 705 million rand, or almost 706 million rand. Chair, I submit. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much for your presentation, Secretary. And the colleagues, the presentation is on the table. It's Q2 of the year 23-24. Any comments? Looks as though there are no comments. Ashoti, the presentation is very clear and straightforward, and it tells us that you'll overspend the budget, and we at the moment we don't know by how much. But if you look at the expenditure at 6 months, it's clear that we will overshoot it. And two, it also means that the man days, reserve force man days, the target of 1.9, we're already at 75% of that at 6 months. And if we move at the same pace, then it means that we will be around 2.5, 2.6 million man days. And they say we're not meeting our sea hours, very low. We're not meeting our air hours, flying hours, sorry, are also very low against the low target that, you know, so it's a bit of a challenge. So we will leave at that. And maybe my question, the coastal patrol, you've done 1 out of 4. You wanted to do 4. Are there any chances that the other 3 will happen in the next 6 months, next 2 quarters, or even that one too will not be achieved in the same way as we are not doing well with respect to sea hours? Over to you. Thabo, you want to say something? Honorable Muslim?
Thanks, Chair. I just want to ask one question with regard to targets. Are these targets that they set for themselves quarterly and annually? How realistic are they? Because seemingly there is a challenge in terms of them setting targets and them being able to meet those targets as set by themselves. What is the real challenge? I know the issue of resources will come, except for the issue of resources, because we passed the budget. You put this target on the basis of what is made available for you to utilize, but still you are unable to meet those targets. What are the real challenges? What do you think should be done to address the gap between the target that you are setting for yourself and ensuring that you meet them in terms of implementation from your side? Thank you very much.
Maybe just to add this, must we still keep them at the level at which they are? We must still reduce them further, because it's pointless to set targets that you know as you set them that you are not going to meet. Okay, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. First, I must agree that when you work on, you put together an APP, it should be on the basis of the resources that you have. That's number one. But the targets are realistic. Members would remember at some point we were planning for 3 hours or 4 hours, sorry, years ago, we planned for 17,000 hours, flying hours, and we've been reducing to accommodate the challenges in those environments. The reserve force days, Chair, we used to have 2.6. We used to plan for 2.6 million man days. However, due to pressure from National Treasury, we had to show that we are trying to reduce the cost of employees, and as a result, I can agree that this target of 1.9 was not realistic. If you look at the task that the Defence Force get from different areas to assist the SAPs, the 3,300 that is going to be used for illicit mining, obviously is going to add to the mandates that are already up. So there I can agree, but those are the tasks that the Defence Force is required to undertake. I will ask General Kundu to speak more on the target and the availability, whether there is a possibility for the availability of at least a vessel.
Chairperson, thank you very much. If I may start with the possibilities or prospects for the availability of the naval platforms. In the South African Navy, there is hope that the vessels are going to be available, particularly from 24 to 25 going forward. Currently, there is a vessel that is available, and they are looking forward to receiving the first inshore multi-mission patrol vessel from sea trials. It means it becomes the next maritime patrol that will be available. They also have taken, received or commissioned the second inshore maritime patrol vessel, which will then be on sea trial for the next coming 6 months. After that, then it is available at sea. The earmarked funds from National Treasury obviously are going to make available at least another platform and a submarine. That will be around December 2024. So if you take the total sum of what I'm saying, then you'll realize that at least we will have 2 maritime platforms where you will have at least a submarine and then multi-mission inshore patrol vessels. So at least out of 5 naval platforms, we will generate some hours. I foresee most probably they will get exhausted around 26, 27. Then they will need some other funds for the maintenance and upgrade. So it is looking good in the Navy. It is giving us positive prospects as far as I'm concerned. Then about performance targets, the Department of Defense has got a structured process to decide firstly at staff level and later in the command line through command bodies. We sit as planning staff both from the Defense Secretariat as well as the National Defense Force. We look at the available resources, the current performance levels that we have, and even underperformance. We look at the comments from Auditor General to the effect that the way that we measure that particular capability is probably the best, or it needs some enhancement. So we do all that stuff work, and we recommend, upon making a conclusion, we recommend to the command bodies that given the resources that we have, given the policy framework that exists, and all the other variables that I may not necessarily mention, we recommend that we must reduce this performance target. The command body obviously will make the final call whether we continue or we do not continue. So the performance indicator portfolio that you have is out of the considerations of the current situation the South African National Defence Force finds itself. The acting secretary has already articulated the issues around the reserve mandates in terms of that target setting. That target setting was mainly influenced by what we call HR reforms, which were largely as a result of National Treasury pressure on the department. But it is not realistic given the escalating tasks, ever escalating tasks that we are given. I think it makes sense to stay at that 2.6. But then the department may make that call. Ultimately, National Treasury, unfortunately, must concur through the MTech processes, where the department then makes available a submission with all its outputs and the level of the output, which is a performance target. Those documents go to and forth between our services planners and National Treasury. And National Treasury, if they don't agree, then they do not agree. I think the chairperson will recall an instance where you read from the E&E document, where National Treasury was advancing a certain narrative, not the narrative that they got from the DoD. They decided unilaterally that this is how they are going to represent the SANDF or the Department of Defense in the union. So there are those instances. But then theoretically, we've got to agree with them as a central planning and budgeting institution of government. Let me pause there, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Chair. We'll hear from the Chair whether there are further questions or information that is required.
No, it doesn't look like Secretary, there are further questions or comments on the thing. We understand your constraints and that you are trying to make best out of it. We can only wish you well as you try to keep the ship afloat. All what remains now is for the DM to say a few words before we pass to the next item. DM.
Chair and committee members, once again, thank you for the engagement with the presentation of the second quarter report of the department, as shared by the acting Secretary for Defense. What I can just say, Chair, is from my side that this second quarter report, of course, is an indication of the mid-year progress the department has made towards our annual performance plan priorities. And as the report indicates, we are challenged to really push very hard if the end of year report on our plans is going to improve. We have to work very hard. And of course, the corrective action of those areas that you can see are glaringly needing attention is the responsibility of the COD and the Council of Defense. My advice is that we allow for the presentation of the corrective steps the ministry has recommended to the department following the engagement with this progress report by the Council on Defense. At this point, the Chair, I'm afraid I'll not be doing justice to that which the Oversight Committee is expecting from us. But thanks for the opportunity to present this report to yourselves, honorable members. Thank you.
DM, thank you very much. SecDef and the Chief of Staff, as well as the acting CFO, for your presentation. I think we will get there. Certainly, there's been some movement, and we must keep, pressing the accelerator until at least we, make some significant changes to show a break away from where we've come from. With that, I wish to thank all of you for your presentation today. And then, Brian, was this not the last item with the department? It was.
That is correct, Chair, it was.
Okay. So I'll release I'll release DM and SecDef and the team when we move to the next item. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and committee members, for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And let's move to, I think we were dealing with the minutes. How many sets, Brian? Is this the only set?
This is the only section.
All right. So it's meeting of the 8th of November, taking the briefing on the DMV second quarter expenditure. We also received we had an engagement, with the DMV appeals board, and we did the minutes. So this is the attendance, colleagues. Please look at the attendance and check if there are any corrections to be made. Continue. Page 1, page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. And the last page. Colleagues, I present the minutes. Do you accept them? I present them as do you accept them as the true record?
Accepted.
Moved by Mr. Shelembe.
Accepted. Seconded, Chair.
Seconded.
Seconded by Motapo. All right. Colleagues, I think we've come. But before we depart the platform, Brian, we're supposed to go to Uppington next week and on Tuesday. Can you just update us? What is the status, the latest on that one?
Chair, the initial response that we got from the House Chair's office was to the negative, to indicate that invitations were not being prioritized, but rather due to financial constraints, public hearings were receiving priority. After a subsequent follow-up, Chair, we were advised that the House Chair is considering the application. We would be advised before the end of the day today as to the outcome, whether or not we would be allowed to go. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. So that's the latest on that item, colleagues. So I thought you should, I'm sure you were worried, wondering why you were not getting your travel arrangements, and so this is the latest from Brian. So we'd leave it at that. So Brian, if we don't get anything by tomorrow afternoon, the close of business, we must really call it a quit, because colleagues have to plan their life as well.
That is correct, Chair.
Thank you so much. All right, colleagues. Yes, Sherembe.
Yeah, Chair, I think let's see what happens, because I've quitted already after seeing that there was refusal from the chair. But let's see what happens, as you are saying now. It's better, that we are told on time to continue at our duties. Thank you.
Okay. No, thank you so much. But don't forget that we are in Cape Town physical on Tuesday with the DMV. All right, colleagues, the meeting has come to the end. Let me thank all of you, and the meeting is now adjourned.
Recording stopped.